It is 5:05, so we're a few minutes behind schedule. And if you want to give us a brief report out of closed session, Mark. You're muted, Mark.
I thought that's how you'd like it, but no, we don't make any comments, Paul. We didn't have item A in closed session, so we talked about negotiations for basically the bulk of the time.
Okay.
But there's no action items.
And do we have Robert back yet?
Yes.
Yep. There he is. Well, Robert, would you mind leading us in the flag salute?
Be happy to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So we're at item A, approval of the school site's reopening plan. And I believe the board certainly had that copy. You want to go ahead and give us a brief overview, Mark?
Yes. So we are looking at our K-5 in particular. Sixth grade, we're still working on what that's going to look like. But K-5 is a 8 to noon, wear masks, 6 foot apart distancing, washing hands, all that, and go 8 to noon and send them home with a lunch. We're going to try and provide busing. We also are giving parents the option of staying on distance learning. So what we're going to do at every grade level, we're going to contact every parent and say, do you want to stay on distance or do you want to be on site? And if distance learning folks will be able to stay on distance learning, my guess is, for example, at third grade, if there are 6 teachers at third grade, 4 might be on site and 2 might be distance learning teachers. We want to give parents the option. But the plan is pretty simple, where the guidelines come from the county health department and CDE on what has to go on and what it looks like. And we're working through a memorandum of understanding with the teachers union. We're about 3/4 done. And so we're hoping to have that mid next week. We want to poll the parents the end of this week and the start of next week, because we have to have every parent's response, because that's the only way I can staff it. We're trying to get to 15 to 1 in a classroom. And in order to do that, I have to know who wants to be in person, who wants to be distant. And so there may be some movement with kids moving to a different teacher. I mean, there's inevitably going to be some of that. We want to try and minimize it. But for example, if I'm Jeannie King, a 4th grade teacher, she's going to contact her parents. And if 5 out of her 20 kids want to stay distance learning, they're going to go to a different teacher, the one who's doing distance learning, and Jeannie's going to keep the 15 on site. And so it's really tough to accommodate parents' choice and busing and movement and independent study. We're not doing anything right now with Sherwood and independent study. I can't put independent study in the mix because I'll blow up the 15 to 1 in a hurry. We have 60 students in K-8 who are independent study. The K-8 independent study students will have an opportunity, if there are openings in the regular, for example, if we have a 5th grader on independent study and there's an opening in Jeannie's class, she only has 14 kids, we could accommodate that. But we have a ton of rules that are imposed on us by the county health department that we have to follow. And we've got to stay at that level. And this is phase 1. This is not how we think we're going to end the year. I hope not. I hope this is phase one. Then we bring back in independent study and Sherwood and the high school and everybody. But we need to start somewhere. We're still in the purple tier, heading towards the red tier. When we get to the red tier, what we can do expands. Right now, we're kind of locked into this K5, K6 only scenario. But I'm hoping we're going to move to a place where we can get all the groups back in. One of the signs at the high school is now they're having athletic practices at the high school. And so those outdoor sports are practicing. So this is the next phase to get K5 in. And it's not ideal. It's certainly not what I would hope we would be at this point. But again, trying to maneuver through all the rules and regulations we have to follow, it's not a simplistic process to just jump back into session. You know, we're not going to flip a switch and everybody's back to normal. So that's kind of the plan we've put together. And again, it's phase one. It's not where I hope we end. I hope it's where we start.
Okay. I'd like to open this to discussion with the board, as well as anybody that has interest in commenting on the approval of the school sites reopening plan. That's item number A. It's actually a document that I know all of the board's gotten, and anybody who's gotten a board packet has been able to see. I don't know how widely distributed that exact plan is. I'd like you to maintain your comments strictly to the plan, and with the exception of the board, everybody else, I'm going to limit you to 3 minutes. And if you have a if your comments are the same as somebody who's preceded you, please feel free to simply state that. And I will ask you to wrap it up at the 3-minute mark if you're not one of the members of the board. So let's start out with the board. Comments from the board on the plan. Not everybody jump in at once.
I'll go since nobody else is going. I know that a lot of work and effort has gone into putting together this plan, and that I asked to sit in on the reopening meeting for Brookside, and I know there was a similar meeting at Blossers, and so those are the two schools that'll be going back. And that there was a lot of rigorous effort on the part of not only teaching staff, but office staff, auxiliary staff to talk about how it was going to be managed in the best interest of the kids. And it's really and I think that parents and that the public really need to understand that the school district, not only Willits Unified, but all school districts are under a tremendous number of requirements by the CDC, by Cal OSHA, by the governor's office, and now the legislators have a separate bill that's different from the governor's requests. The county health department, there's tremendous number of restrictions that the school district has to operate in. And it's not just that the school district gets together and says, oh, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do this and we're going to do this. We have to keep the cohort small. We have to keep kids 6 feet apart. We have to mask kids up. I mean, that's requirements. We have no choice. And right now, the school district has no choice in opening up the middle school and the high school because we're still in the purple tier. Though from what I have been following, it looks like Mendocino County is doing pretty well. And that our numbers are going down. So hopefully we'll go into the next tier below this. I can't remember which color it is. Things change all the time. And that we'll be able to to reopen the middle school and the high school, but right now we're not allowed to because of the tier that we're in, the number of COVID cases. And I also wanted to say how much I appreciate the efforts the school district has gone to vaccinate staff members. Not all counties have managed to do that, but Mendocino County has made not only teaching staff, but people that work in schools, the bus drivers, everybody was given a chance to be vaccinated, and I really, really appreciate that. And in my heart, the way I am here tonight to make an informed decision, not just make a decision but to make an informed decision. And I've tried to inform myself by attending the reopening meeting at Brookside. Then I also attended their latest staff meeting so I could hear from the rank and file teachers what their concerns were. And I've read a lot, and I've tried to listen to parents that I come across. And I also want to say that I come from that part of my informed decision is that I have my grandchildren once a week, every Thursday, for their distance learning. So I have insight into what kids at Brookside are being required to do, and I have insight into what kids at Bechtel Grove are required to do and how that's going. And the efforts that staff is putting in, but also the efforts that kids are putting in, and that that parents are putting in. I was in a store today in which the mother, the owner of the store, was trying to serve customers while she was 9 months pregnant and overdue. And her son was, she has a 2 or 3 year old, and then she has a first grader who was doing remote learning while all this other stuff was going on. And I know that parents and families have, it's been very difficult, and employers also. In my own family, my son is working from home 3 days a week, and working his job at the same time that he's overseeing the kids' distance learning. And then one grandmother takes one day and I take the other day to complete the 5 days. And I know that parents have made a tremendous effort, and employers too, and that this isn't sustainable for a long period of time. And and I also want to say that that this is about the kids, and that the reason the school district exists is because of the kids, and that we need to listen to each other, and we need to hear each other, and we need to put the kids first, because none of us would be, the school district wouldn't exist without the kids. And the kids that's our primary purpose, is to meet the kids' needs, not only educational needs, but their social needs and their mental health needs. And I know I was reading that 1 out of 8 kids live in a family with substance abuse. So you take any child that is not in an optimal situation at home, whether it's financial stress, whether it's substance abuse, whether it's mental health issues, and kids need the respite of school. And there's all kinds of things that can't be taught online in distance learning, like give and take, how to share, all those skills that are really important for how people succeed in life. It's even with our best efforts, distance learning is not in the best interests of kids. And anyway, I'm here to be informed by the parents and the other community members that are here. Thank you.
Alex, can I go ahead and say something?
Yes, please.
I'm going to try not to be redundant. I can ditto much of what Mrs. King said there. Thank you very much. I too put kids first, and I think we're all here for the children. as a group, we are entertaining this decision, just like many people are doing across the nation, across the world for that matter. And it's new, and there has to be a lot of discussion and a lot of input. And then we have to make some tough decisions. That's just the way it is today. And I feel that as long as we are covering all the known bases in regards to county requirements and recommendations, that we need to move ahead. We need to move ahead and do what's best for kids. So thank you, Jeannie, for your comments, because you said a lot of things that I agree with. But I do appreciate all the hard work that's being done on this. And I'm certain we'll come to a decision that's best for kids, teachers, and everyone concerned. Thank you.
Okay. Paula or Diane?
Yeah, I'm not real sure I have a whole lot of different input. I do believe strongly that we do have a school, we do think of students, but we also need to maintain the safety and best interest of everyone attending, in particular teachers and classified, administrative, everything staff. I don't think we should just let that go. I believe that the community should have as much input as they feel like having. However, first we have to follow the law, and then we can do the best we can to follow everyone else's wishes. I do agree with the two previous board members that, yeah, it's a difficult thing to make decisions. And even though you might want a particular something, if it's not legal or it's not safe, we really do need to consider not wanting it so badly right now. You know, sometimes you just have to take a breath and say, okay, we're in odd times because it is a pandemic. We are not here to say, what do I want? What do I not want? We are here to say, what is in the best interest of everyone involved, which is the whole community. And teachers live in the community, children live in the community. The community is the community. And if they aren't considered, well, then you're at school for a couple of weeks, few things go wrong and zunk, we have to shut down all over again. Or you go to school, everything is fine. All of a sudden your child or your best friend or your mother or whomever gets really sick and you can't fix it going backward. You can only prevent it up front. And at this minute, that's about all I have to say.
Thanks, Paula. Diane?
Oops, am I on? Am I there?
You're there.
Okay, thanks. My thing is that Paula said it, all of you've said it, and my main thing is being safe for the teachers, for the families, the bus drivers, and following the guidelines that the state has put down. The county had a lot of listing things that we have to do to make sure everybody's safe. But I want to make sure that families know that if they want to bring their kids to school, we've done this. And then if you want to continue with at-home distance learning, that's fine too. And September would be a better time for that. So we're giving some options, and we need to hear mostly what the community wants as well, our families, our students as well. Thanks.
Okay. So again, I want to make sure everybody keep your comments to item A right now. We will deal with item B in its time. Anybody in the public arena would like to speak out?
Yeah, I'd like to say something.
Go ahead, John.
I'd like to specifically respond to Paula. And I think you made some valid points about safety, but I also think that if you look at the latest CDC guidelines, they're urging K through 12 schools to open ASAP. This includes precautions like the school district's planning on making. And it goes on to say that the spread in schools directly it directly depends on whether or not kids are masked and they take these extra protocols. So I think that as long as the school district's being safe and doing the right thing, then I don't think there's going to be a problem.
Go ahead, Suzanne. Unmute. You got to unmute your microphone, Suzanne. There you
Yep,
go.
I'm trying. Sorry, you can hear me. Great. Thank you. Sorry. I am very impressed with the plan. I was fortunate enough to be part of the committee that Jeannie referred to at Brookside School. And I think you have an excellent document here. There is one place that I would urge you to make a change, and that is unmasking students to eat in the cafeteria. I think we're basically opening up a restaurant there, and I don't want that to happen. I think students need to eat outside. If the weather is terrible, as the plan says, then eat in the classroom. Then you'll only have that one cohort that if in fact, when they take their masks off, as COVID could spread. You have done an excellent job. I'm delighted about everything except for that one part of possibly using the cafeteria. So I urge you to strike that from the document. And thank you for all of the tremendous effort that you've given. I'm proud of our district and our community for beginning to reopen.
Suzanne, I want to comment on the cafeteria. The only reason we do have that in there is because of weather. And they would be staggered groups. It would not be masses of groups. We might have 2 cohorts in the whole cafeteria, but my goal would be to not eat in the classroom, because the scenario you talked about, that's exactly, you might as well not have the mask on if you're going to do that.
It's a restaurant, right?
So,
And I want to stay safe. I can't, I want to stay safe, but I want us to be able to go back and
if the weather permits,
you heard me on that.
that's the plan, is to not eat in the cafeteria.
Thank you.
Mark, wasn't the plan to actually have kids come to school and then leave with a lunch and not eat at the school?
It is. She's referring to snack time.
Oh, I got you. Okay. Okay. Who's next? Is that-
Can I speak?
Who's up?
My name's Carrie.
Hi, Carrie, go ahead.
Hi. So I have a daughter, first grade. I am definitely pushing for schools to be open. I've had to take my daughter out of Brookside to put her on independent study because of the Zooms required and the websites required for her to be marked not absent from school every day. And now she's not a Willits Unified, I guess, student no more, so she will not be in phase 1. So I'm just really pushing for her to be a part of phase 1. I feel like Sherwood School, independent study students are kind of being left out, and I don't really feel like the schools really took into account what they were asking of very young children to do on distant learning. And for a 6-year-old who's being babysat by a 13-year-old who's also in Zoom for half the day because she's in 8th grade, it was just not possible. And I work full time. And I have nobody else to watch her. I don't have grandparents who are retired who could help and do, schooling. And so I just don't understand why, if you can count all the students in Sherwood and independent study to give the numbers to the county, why we can't make the numbers work. Why you only say, well, these are the only students we have, let's make these work. Why are they not being considered? They are still a part of the community. They are still students who are getting the best education as of right now, where us parents, I feel, have been pretty supportive of distant learning for the last year. I had a daughter last year who graduated from high school who lost a lot. I have a daughter in 8th grade who has always been a straight A student. Now she's struggling. It's becoming more and more. And my 6-year-old is losing everything, social, sharing, interaction, listening, it's all being lost. And if she doesn't get to go back in March when school's open, she's losing even more. And I'm literally pushing for independent study and Sherwood students to be included. We can make these numbers work, whether or not we have 15 or 20 kids in a classroom, 2 days a week, half days. Us parents want to make it work, but we also want to be included. And we're not being included in this phase. And I'm just not seeing how that's fair. You can give the county the numbers and make it work.
Mark, you want to make a comment with respect to that?
Sure. I already commented back to her privately, but this is done site by site. And the kids at Sherwood, independent studies actually run through Sherwood. There's 60 kids in K-8 independent study. There's about 60 kids at Sherwood in regular day. That's 120 kids. I have 3 independent study teachers and 3 teachers at Sherwood.
Okay, hold on.
That
My
is,
daughter is actually at Brookside. She's actually in on independent study, but she's in Brookside. She doesn't go to Sherwood. So not all independent study students go to Sherwood. My daughter went out of Sanhedrin.
no, she is enrolled through Sherwood right now because that's where independent study is. I want all the kids to get back on, but I only have 6 teachers for a potential 120 kids. So, and before we can go online at Sherwood and independent study, I have to find out the numbers from Blosser and Brookside. There may be spots open in Blosser and Brookside, depending on how many people choose to keep their child at home or send them. If there are, I will open up slots at Brookside and Blosser to make sure we have classes full. But I can't offer that before I know the numbers. And that's why we're surveying the parents the end of this week and the start of next week to know our numbers. And I can't go to 20 kids in a room. The county is very clear that it's 15-1, not 17, 16. That's not our choice. That's the county health department making that rule.
So you're saying there's only 6 teachers going back in all of Brookside?
No, I'm telling you that Sherwood Independent Study and Sherwood School comprise 120 kids with only 6 teachers.
No, I understand that. But what I'm saying is, since for my daughter, because she's on independent study, she would go to Brookside. I don't live in Brook Trails. So if she left independent study, she would be a part of Brookside. That's what I'm asking.
That is correct.
So how,
If
what
I
I'm
have
saying is
opening-
independent study students, how do you know which ones would go to Sherwood and which ones would go to Blosser and which ones would go to Brookside? How would you know how to delegate those numbers?
I know who the Sherwood students are who attend Sherwood daily. I know who the students are who are on the independent study list. So I know who's who, and I can open up spots for independent study students if I have spots available at Brookside and Blosser. That's what I will do, but I gotta know the number. I can't guarantee you that right now. I have to see the number.
So I'm going to bring this part of the discussion to a close. Carrie, please feel free to give the superintendent a call at his office to get further clarification on exactly that. I want to draw the discussion back to item A and item A only. If you have comments about the plan itself, that's what we want to get to the bottom of right now. Dina, go ahead. Unmute.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dina Haigunian. I teach at Bechtel Grove Middle School, and I have a son that goes to Sherwood. I know that Miss Jeannie King kept saying that we're not talking about Bechtel, but their plan is in, and we are discussing 6th grade possibly going, and that's one of the classes I teach is 6th grade. So I did want to address that. Is this the right time to do it? Because I'm a little bit confused and I don't want to talk out of turn.
Well, go right ahead. If your plan, if your comments are with respect to the site reopening plan, yes.
So as it was explained to me, I would be teaching a simultaneous in-person and Zoom class. What that means for my students in person is they're still learning through Zoom. There is nothing about the education that they are getting right now that will change except for the geography. Because right now, unless anybody can figure out how to teach both in person, standing up, walking around, and through Zoom, it doesn't work. So I fail to see the benefit of them coming to class, especially as a parent with a student at Sherwood. My child is staying home. I have no care. He is on the wait list in a 30-mile radius from Laytonville to Nice down to Talmadge in multiple daycares on wait list. There is nothing available.
Hey, Gina, let me give you some info, okay? We do not have an approved plan for Bechtel with the teachers union yet, okay? Okay, so right now, we're not talking about 6th grade.
At all.
Well, we may be if we have a planned MOU and we can address that.
Okay.
But at this point, we don't have that. So the plan where you're talking about distance learning and teaching kids in your class at the same time, that's probably not an option. None of us want that. Okay, but you need to understand that we have to have a plan for Bechtel.
So
And we will have a plan for Bechtel, and it'll come after we have our MOU with the teachers. And so that's why most of the discussion is centering around Brookside and Blosser, because Bechtel in particular does not even have the staff to do self-contained teaching.
Okay.
You don't even have the staff. You don't have, your whole 8th grade staff is single subject. Okay, so Mackenzie and Maria and I will spend some time once we have our MOU done with the teachers unit. Then we can use our parameters through that to put together a Bechtel schedule.
And then we'll have a special meeting to discuss.
Yep, the same thing will happen with Sherwood. Sherwood has the uniqueness of only 3 buildings. I can't give a parent an option of distance or on-site because the teacher has to be one or the other. And there are only 3 teachers and they each teach 3 different grades. So that's why these are all individual site plans, because every site's very different from the other sites. For example, Brookside wants to have kindergartners in AM/PM session, as opposed to having them come alternating day. And so we're going to accommodate that. We did accommodate that in our MOU with the teachers. It's not finalized yet, but we've passed that hurdle already. So we're trying to get the plans in place the best we can, get the WTA on board to get back into session. Bechtel is not ready yet. Brookside and Blosser are. Sherwood will be right behind them. An independent study will have some options to come to those buildings when we have slots available.
Thank you so much for clearing that up. It was
Yeah.
super confusing.
Yeah. This is all super confusing and it's all rules, and we have 5 different sets of rules we got to follow to do what we've normally always done pretty easily. So we'll get there.
Okay, anybody else with comments specific to item A?
I've had my hand raised for a while. I'm not sure how you're taking comments, but if I can.
There's 80 there's over 80 people on the list here, and I'm trying to catch you guys as you pop up. So please go ahead, Tara.
Okay, so my name's Tara Marati. Thanks for having the meeting. I do remember going to board meetings, and I have never seen it so well attended as I'm seeing it tonight. So congratulations to our community for pulling together and attending and trying to be informed on what's happening. I think that's a real show of a community. So I'm a parent of a junior and then an incoming freshman next year. And I'm also a wife of a teacher from Bechtel Grove Middle School. So the current plan is not going to affect me immediately. But I think it's important to know from a community member's perspective how important it is that it's been 11 months since this pandemic started, and it will likely be another 11 months until we really see some kind of end of this. And the rest of the world has continued to move on. And so I think it's time for us to move on too, and to get our teachers, our community, our children back in school. And I think this can be done safely. I think the guidelines will allow that kind of safe environment that's going to allow us to have in-person learning again. The current model does not work. It doesn't work for anybody, specifically teachers, specifically students, specifically our community. So I think it's very important that people come at this with a solution-based attitude. And I'm hopeful, you know, teachers are solution-based, and they are fantastic at being solution-based and teaching their children how to be solution-based. So I think that this can happen, and this can happen well, and it needs to start immediately. So even though I'm not going to benefit from this immediate approval, I know that over the long run, our community is going to benefit, our children are going to benefit, our teachers are going to benefit. This is going to be very beneficial for everyone. So I think it's very, very important that that we're moving forward. I'm super pleased that our district was able to get to be able to get the vaccines for our district right away, and push people who were the more high risk out from getting vaccines first. You know, I know my mother-in-law at 72 just got her first vaccine today, while most of the teachers have already had their opportunity and are well into their second dose. So I think that the plan as it speaks is, you know, what they call it, essential workers, right? That's what they've called. My job's been an essential job. Safeway employees have been in essential jobs. Education is an essential job, and it's very sad that it's taken 11 months for us to get right here. So
I'm going to have you wrap up.
Sure. So I think this is very important. I thank you guys for being here today, and I can't thank you enough. I really appreciate you all.
Very good. Thank you, Tara. Ann Hammond, go ahead.
Hi, I have a parent who could not be here tonight, and they wanted me to ask for clarification as to why we're coming back 8 to 12 as opposed to all day.
That's the only question you have, Ann?
Yeah, you want me to answer that,
That's
Alex?
it. I'm just.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah. I would love to be back 8 to 3. However, when you put in lunches and that much time, it's going to be more problematic. Remember that this is phase 1. I'm hoping that we go into this, our numbers continue to trend better, because we do want to get back to normal. But none of the districts who go back in this fashion have jumped right back into 8 to 3. There's lunches, there's using staffing differently. There's issues with being 8 to 3. I don't think it's hard to believe that if we go back in and things go well, we can extend the day. But yeah, we can't get back to what we used to call normal soon enough for me. And the 8 to 12 is going to be simplistic when we take home lunches instead of trying to provide a lunchroom. You heard Mrs. Matheson talk about what happens when you have a lunchroom scenario. And so the plan's to go back all time, but at this point, it's probably not prudent to go full speed.
Any other comments or questions out there?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions with respect to item A?
All I want to comment on, Alex, is our K1 teachers, particularly our high need special ed teachers, I want to applaud them for being on site, seeing kids one-on-one, two-on-one all the time, every day. And so they really, when they say they're anxious to get back, they really are anxious to get back. And what they're doing is saving us a ton with these K1-2s trying to learn how to read. So I appreciate their efforts, and I know they want to get back on site.
Okay.
Can I
Any
ask,
other comments?
can I ask
Go
a
ahead, Maria.
question? So does that mean that the Bechtel plan is not being approved or is being approved pending changes in alignment with the MOU with the union? Or is it just being approved and there's an existing MOU with the union that would take effect?
The issue with the Bechtel plan
Well, I know what the issues are.
is only in regards to number of cohorts and students they see in a day and how we're staffing it. It isn't all your protocols. It isn't masking. It isn't 6 feet apart. It isn't the time of day. None of that is in question. The only issue we have to work out is there's no way we can be single subject teachers at Bechtel, or excuse me, multi-subject teachers have a self-contained 6, 7, and 8. And so we're just not certified to even do that. So you and I and Mackenzie will work that out once we get the MOU squared away. But our only thing we have to focus on is what the instructional day looks like and how that works out. But that's something you and I, the three of us, can kind of sort out.
Right, but so is it being approved pending alignment with the MOU from the district, from the union?
Well, it has to be. There's no other choice.
Great, thank you.
We could approve whatever we want, but if they're not clear to come back in, we're going to have a couple admins and a bunch of kids. So.
Hey, I have a quick comment.
Go ahead, Mackenzie.
Can I go? I just wanted to give our school a few props, and I don't know if our community knows this, but we've had a cohort of students coming in for the whole entire school year, and these are the students that don't have internet and are also need to attend school. We haven't had one outbreak, one issue, one single problem with kids coming into school every single day. They are eating, they are staying in the cohort, they're following the safety protocols. And we also have our resource students coming on campus in their teachers' classrooms, following protocols there, and our special ed students with Mrs. Smith and her aides going into classrooms. And I really want the community to know that we've been doing this safely all year long, being in a cohort. I'm not sure if people realize that, but it's already been happening and it's working.
Yeah.
So,
and the independent study teachers have been meeting one-on-one all year too. So
right.
Yeah, they're not the only, I missed a couple groups. Thanks, Mackenzie.
I didn't know if you said anything. I just had to
No,
brag
I
about
missed
it.
that.
Paula, you had another question?
I did. I forgot to ask you about in the policies, it talks about, or in the plans, about cleaning things that the children use, like toys and stuffed animals and stuff like that. So it didn't say exactly, however, that how it was going to be done, or if they were going to be picked up and, put on a shelf somewhere where the kids weren't going to be using them. It also didn't, it says a schedule will be made and that the maintenance and operations director will make that. Is any of that already ready? Well, first, what are you going to do with those toys and the stuffed animals and the various things that people use when they're playing, kids, And then secondly, of course, is that plan, that schedule already set up?
We have talked about the most likely scenarios of what that would look like. But did we lock the plan in? I can't lock the plan in until I have this plan approved and an MOU with the teachers to get them back on site. But the disinfecting of items, we're not going to go in and pick up the teddy bears and make sure they're back where they're supposed to be. That's not what we normally do. but we are going to mist spray disinfect the rooms.
Oh, okay.
It's a quick
Oh.
process, and our goal is to do that. We're going to disinfect every room every night. We're
Okay.
already doing that now. The issue
Right.
will be that in kindergarten, for example, where they have an AM, PM, we have to have enough time in between to do that. And less than an hour, we'll be able to do that. But
Oh, okay.
the answer to your question is yes, Donna and the daytime person may have to adapt their schedules a little bit.
Oh, okay, but it's that disinfectant spray that you put all over the tables and the counters. It's also what's used for the toys and the playhouse and
It
the
does everything.
games. Oh,
It's a
okay.
misting fog that
Yeah,
does the
okay.
whole room.
Oh, okay. That was the only thing I missed.
Yep.
I would hope that we identify items that can't be reasonably disinfected and actually remove those items so that
Right.
they don't transfer from one person to the next, and focus on making sure that we replace those with items that can be, effectively disinfected between uses.
I know from sitting in the staff meeting, the Zoom staff meeting at Brookside the other day, yesterday, is that there's a lot of concern amongst teachers as to what's going to be sprayed in their room, what kind of things they're going to be inhaling and breathing, because some of them have breathing issues, allergies and stuff like that. And so I know that there's concern amongst the staff at Brookside anyway, I assume elsewhere also, as to what the chemicals are going to be used in their room. So
Yeah. We gave them the cut sheets for these, and the product we use has a 1 minute dwell time. You spray it, it's 1 minute. It doesn't linger in the air. It doesn't have an odor to it. It's actually the hospital uses the same product, but we're not spraying it when they're in the room. We spray the rooms at night. Our goal is to spray them like at 4 o'clock on, we do the rooms. That way, nobody has any issues at all, because it's easier that way. The person spraying wants to come in and just do the room quickly and move on. But we're going to work that out with CSEA. And by the way, when I talk about a memorandum of understanding, that's not with CSEA, it's just the teachers. 90% of CSEA folks have been here every day, all the time. We're already good to go to get back into school. So when I say unions and MOUs, I'm not talking about the support staff. We're already all set.
well,
So Margaret,
I think that will help teachers to know that it only has a 1 minute time that it would cause some problems. So
Their room is getting done every night right now. They don't even probably know that, but it gets done every night now.
So just to be clear, item number A, the approval of school sites reopening plan. This is the plan that speaks almost exclusively to the safety issues, or the safety procedures and the safety steps that the district has taken to try and make sure that everyone stays safe. It addresses everything from the sanitation, as well as the mask wearing and distancing barriers and so forth. I want to bring the discussion back to the plan specifically. And if anybody actually has questions or comments specifically on this plan, please speak up.
Alex, I just want to chime in one more thing. This is one of the rare cases where the board could get overruled. I sent these to county health and state, and they're going to go through them as well. And so they may have an edit or a change that we have to put in place. So just to let folks know that if you see, well, when did this get put in, or how did this change? That would be county health or the state department that put it in place.
Got it. And they have like 7 days to report back on that, correct?
Yeah, we hope they can hit their timeline.
Okay. So if no one else has any more information or any comments or questions about item A,
I have actually one more question if possible.
go ahead.
How many teachers are actually coming back between Brookside and Blosser to in class, like person? First, how many teachers are actually coming back? Every teacher? Only half the teachers? I'm just trying to figure out the numbers and why and how it works. Are just not all teachers coming back, or are all of them coming back?
When you're talking about for in-person instruction, that's going to be based on the number of parents who want to bring their kids back. And we're going to have classes of 15 to 1, and we're going to try to accommodate every parent who wants their child back in the building. And so I can't tell you the number. It's based on the parent's choice.
What every parent wants their students to go back, you have the teachers that are going to go back to accommodate every student.
I believe it will work at Brookside and Blosser. We may have some extra spaces available, but I'm using that number based on other districts. For example, Fort Bragg is about 50-50 with parents who chose to send their kids back and parents who chose to keep them home. So in that scenario, we definitely have enough staff to accommodate. So it's really a parental choice, and it's going to be grade level by grade level. Alex, you have a question. I don't know who iPhone.
Yeah, I'm seeing her too. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question, and I don't know if this applies to A, but my daughter goes to Sherwood, and we just got a message this morning saying that potentially that they would be going to, she's in 2nd grade, and they would be going on to home study, I believe it is what it is, or and not having the Zoom classes. And I don't know why the Zoom classes won't continue on along with like distance learning.
I don't know what you're talking about. Do you have my email? Did you get an email that said that?
I do not, but I can get it. Miss Julie is her teacher, and she's a fantastic teacher. I want Sherwood to keep rocking on. I've met you multiple times, and just believe in this school very much. I highly hope that we can keep Zoom going along with the distance learning.
Yeah, I would assume that as well. Can you send me the message and I'll track it down for you?
Okay, yeah, and my name is Delana, so
Yeah.
Tell him your name. Thank you very much.
Once you started talking, I remembered who you were. Your phone, your screen just says iPhone. I didn't want to call you iPhone.
I don't know how to deal with these things, but thank
Okay.
you for your work.
Yeah.
Amber, go ahead.
Real quick, this is kind of what Delina was talking about. My question was, when you said there isn't enough teachers at Sherwood for the ones who want to go back and the ones that don't, would it be an option for the ones that don't to be with one of the teachers at Brookside or Blosser that are doing Zoom meetings?
That's a great question. And it's really, this is a numerical issue. I can only give a teacher so many students in a distance class, and I have a even smaller class size in person. In a nutshell, a distance learning teacher has a 25 class load. In a on-site, they would normally have 25, but we can't do that because of the rules from the county health. It's 15. So however those numbers play out, I want every parent to get their choice that they want. Sherwood has that uniqueness where it's kind of you're either all in or all out. But I think Sherwood teachers have met and talked, and we've had communications individually. But we're gonna meet tomorrow and sort out where we're really at. What can we do? What's the best option for kids? And the nice thing about Sherwood is we only have 60 kids if everybody's on site. We don't have a 400 kid school to deal with. And so I think we'll have some unique options at Sherwood we don't have at the other ones, just based on that.
Okay.
But staffing is the issue.
Will a bus be an option when Sherwood does go back?
We are looking at doing busing. The thing you need to know about busing is a bus, I call them cheese wagons. The normal big cheese wagon holds 66 kids. By the way, that's 66 kindergartners, 3 to a seat. So in normal terms, it's 44 high schoolers. We can only seat 28 students in a bus because we're going to be required to sit one in the back, one the next seat over on the other side. We have to ping pong across the bus until we get up to the front. You load the bus back to front, and if you're in the same family, they could sit together. And so we're still going to try and put bus stops out, and we're still going to try and run the buses to Brookside and Blosser, and Sherwood won't be any different. Sherwood would still have the stop at the middle school, the high school, the golf course, and then out to the site. So we can still provide that transportation. It's going to be a little goofier getting on the bus.
Right.
The bus
My
is going to temperature
suggestion,
screen.
if there is too many students at Sherwood that ride the bus, there is quite a few that live up there, so I know their parents drop them off. But maybe giving the parents an option for morning or afternoon. That way we don't have to do 2 trips.
I don't think there's any question at Sherwood we're going to be in a staggered scenario. Maybe AM, PM, maybe alternate day, something like that. There's no real choice there because Miss Julie can't take all 20 kids at one time. The county won't even let it happen. So just by the number, we're going to be either AB or AM, PM. I really like AM, PM far better than alternating day. But we're going to try and sort that out tomorrow. But
Okay, just one more comment.
sure.
I don't know what school Mackenzie was referring to, but my son goes to the big charter. He's an 8th grader, and he also has been on campus since November, 4 days a week
Yep.
from 9 to 2, and they eat outside. And as far as I know, there's been no cases, and they do also have the groups, I believe, of 12.
Right. Yeah. They have a 12 cohort who comes because of internet, and yeah, they have no issues. I've been meeting with the charter school all along, and yeah, they're following a lot of our lead. So yeah, they haven't had issues either.
Okay, back to item A. Any more comments specific to item A?
I have a question about item A.
Go ahead.
So I just wanted to know if the board is voting today on whether or not to approve the Bechtel Grove Middle School plan for 6th grade.
We are not.
Okay, thank you.
Back to item A. If there's no further comments on item A, would entertain a motion to approve item A.
You have a couple of hands up. There's Bruin has a hand up.
I don't see him, but Bruin, go ahead. They're not showing up on my screen.
My name is Brian Bowles, and I just
Hi,
wanted to clarify too before we move forward that the items that have been sent to the county are the specific to Brookside and Blosser. And I want to make that clarification before we move forward. Is that true?
Well, the county has Bechtel's as well, but we can't put Bechtel's plan into place the way it was sent only because of classroom cohorts and those things. So we're going to have to send it back in and get a rewrite on it.
So to be clear, the only 2 that would be voted on today would be Brookside and Blosser.
That is correct.
Thank you.
And Bechtel will get rearranged when they take a look at it after I meet with Maria and Mackenzie, and we try to, after we work through an MOU, Brian, we'll figure out what changes have to be in that plan. I think they're fairly minor, but they would be have to be resubmitted.
Thank you for clarifying. I just wanted to make sure.
Anything further? I'm not seeing all the hands that might be up, so you might want to just chime in. Okay, is there a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the plan for Brookside and Blosser Lane.
I'll second.
It's been approved and seconded. Is there any further discussion at the board level? So it's been made clear, this plan is specific right now to Blosser and Brookside. Okay, hearing none, no further discussion, call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, let's move on to item B, consideration to open school sites, Brookside, Blosser Lane,
Alex,
Bechtel Grove.
you need to ask, is there anybody opposed? You couldn't see anybody,
Oh,
everybody.
I'm sorry, I thought I had a, was anybody opposed to the plan? Paula, did you vote oppose or?
Can't hear you, Paula.
If any of the board did not approve, please speak up so we can count your vote.
Paula's trying to find the unmute button. Paula, do a thumb up or down. We can see you.
Thumb up.
Yes.
Paula votes
Thank you.
approved. So I'm assuming that, as far as I could tell, everybody approved it.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to item B, consideration to open school sites, Brookside, Blosser Lane, Bechtel Grove partial, which would be 6th grade, on March 8th for in-person instruction. Additional WSD school sites to reopen pending approval from Mendocino County Public Health.
Thanks.
So we'll go ahead and we'll start with the discussion at the board level. And then we'll open it up to the public.
So Alex, let me start with something. The reason this has a date on it is just because we're picking a date to have an action item on our agenda. We can't vote to do something without having as an action item on our agenda. The board has multiple things they can do with an action item. You can table it, you can amend it, you could deny it, or you could approve it. So what I want the board to consider is to really look at the date as not as relevant as, do we have everything in place based on what the county health, what the state's telling us, CDC, and in agreement with the MOU we've done with the teachers, which won't be until we've meet again. But the reality is the date is not the critical factor. The idea is to vote to try to go back to some in-person instruction. And so if we meet the criteria to do that, we can go back into in-site instruction and work out our staffing based on our MOU and our protocols, safety and all that through the policies and stuff we had just talked about. So I don't want people to focus on the date as much as I want them to focus on the concept of we're voting to try and go back into on-site instruction in those two buildings. And soon thereafter, if we can sort Bechtel out, that would be obviously the next place, as well as then move on into another phased in other sites.
Okay, thanks for that. So again, I'd like to encourage the board to make comments with respect to this. Again, the date, again, is like Mark said, is completely fluid and certainly not set in stone in any way, shape, or form. I'll go first with my comments with respect to this. In looking at the way the data is trending right now, we've in the last 5 days the case rate has dropped 60%, and the positivity rate with respect to COVID has dropped about 25%. And if you look at the data statewide, again, those comments are with respect to Mendocino County. If you look at the data statewide, the numbers are even better. It's clear that with ongoing vaccinations and we're past the holiday seasons and so forth, those numbers are trending downward rather rapidly. And with any luck, those numbers will get us into the red tier soon, and possibly even to the yellow tier sometime not too far further out. The data that there's a tremendous amount of data out there. Some of it is very valid. Some of it is hyperbole. There's just a lot of information and misinformation out there, and it's really, really difficult to sort through it all. There's also, the question of a variety of different strains that are out there that could crop up at any time. Now, what do we have going for us in terms of our community? I would argue that, for want of a better way to put it, Fort Bragg and Ukiah are going to be our litmus tests, if you will. They're our canaries, and we should be able to see before we open whether or not what they're doing is going to cause an uptick in case rates and positivity rates in our communities. If that occurs, then more than likely we're going to stay in the purple tier and we're not likely to open. On the other hand, if the numbers continue to trend in the direction that we would like them to trend, and community spread continues to drop, positivity rates continue to drop, I see no reason why we shouldn't attempt to open our schools on this sort of almost like a test basis, if you will. And I think that the district has done a very, very good job of putting lots and lots of safety measures in place to help protect the students, the staff, and hopefully our community as well. I'll be the first to tell you that I've said before, I don't want to be the first one to go back to school, and I don't care if we're the last. I just want to make this decision as safely as we can reasonably do so. Again, recognizing that this is a risk analysis kind of question. I would also point out to you that this is the question that I feel the least qualified to answer. Certainly, we are not health professionals per se. We're not pandemic professionals in any way, shape, or form. This is all very, very new for the vast majority of us having to deal with these kinds of issues. That said, I still think that we owe it to our community, we owe it to our kids to try and take every step we can to try and find a reasonable solution wherever it's possible. At this point in time, I wouldn't say comfortable, but I feel like we are in a position now where we can start to move forward. And once all the pieces are in place, testing, sanitation, and the MOUs, all of the policies, procedures, and equipment that we can possibly put in place to keep everybody safe, I think the risk is reasonably well mitigated at this point in time. Tomorrow may be a different day, but at least right now, I think it's time for us to start actively looking at trying to get at least K-5 open and see where we go. So I'll open the floor to whoever's next.
I would like to say something. Whatever you said was just wonderful because I think we've gone through this with the K-5 group. And when we have all these safety measures met and all the requirements from the state and county, as well as the teachers, I think we can open up. And that's what I would say. Yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Diane.
I'd like to go ahead, Alex.
Go ahead, Robert.
I agree with what's been said, mostly agree with what's been said so far. Once we have our ducks in a row, and we're good to go. And in regards to what that exactly means is, I feel we need to follow the county and state guidelines. However, once we have covered those bases, we kind of need to say, okay, we've done everything we can do. Well, I shouldn't even say that, because I'm sure there's there's other things we can do that are above and beyond what the county requirements are. But if we once we cover those county requirements, I say we move ahead and open. And so I'm sure staff will be the ones that'll tell us when all of those have been met, and we go ahead and open. We just can't get into chasing our tail a lot. If we keep trying to make it safer and safer and safer and safer, it's like driving a car. Cars are much safer than they are back in 1955, but they're not 100% safe. And when we start school, we know it's not going to be 100% safe. But we get it as close as we can in following the county and state guidelines. And we open up, because I know for sure there's kids out there that are suffering. There's kids out there that's education will suffer for most of their school career and maybe affect their whole life. The kids that are behind, the kids that are neglected are the ones that are suffering the most. And those kids have already lost almost a year of the education they need, the intervention they need, and they are in a bad way. And they will suffer for years after this. So we're never going to get that car 100% safe, and we're never going to be 100% safe to get kids to school. So let's just cover our bases in regards to the guidelines and then get on with helping these children. That's it.
Good. Paula? You're having problems with the mute. Mark, can you unmute Paula? Mark, you're muted. Are you able to unmute Paula for her?
I don't believe I can unmute her. I can ask her to unmute. Unless there's a Jedi thing here I don't know about.
There she is.
Oh, this little thing pops up once in a while and asks me if I want to or not. I don't know. Anyway, no, I agree with you, Alex, all that you said, and Diane and Robert. I really do believe, as I said earlier, we have to follow the state and do the very best we can. And other than that, it's sort of out of our hands.
Okay, so I'm going to open the discussion up to.
I haven't had a chance to speak.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jeannie.
No, I just wanted to say that there's a saying that I like, that a sailboat is safe in a harbor, but a sailboat is built to be in a harbor. It's built to sail. And I'd vote, if I could, I'd vote for everybody to go back to school full time and sports to resume, and because kids need to live their lives, and living in fear is not in anybody's best interest. Anyway, kids need, my granddaughter who's in first grade says, I don't have any friends. You know, she's in first grade, and kids really need to socialize. They need this, the skills that come from participating in sports and from participating in classroom projects. And the teachers have done an amazing job that I've witnessed through working with my grandkids here at my house in trying their best over the internet in a digital kind of learning. And what I wanted to say more than anything is that I know that everybody is trying their best. The teachers have been trying their best under a very difficult set of circumstances. Parents have been trying their best. And the school district has been trying very hard. I know how hard everybody's been working. And but this is a situation that's never happened before. The kids are the real heroes here, is that they have no voice in this. We have to be their voice, and we have to take them as our primary consideration. What is in their long-term best effort, best interests, and how do we set that in motion? So, and like I said, nobody's ever done this before. And I'd rather start small with Brookside and Blosser and get that going for a week or two and then move on after we have that going. So anyway, I just wanted to commend everybody for the best job that everybody's doing. So thanks.
Okay. I'd like to open it up to the public. If you have comment or question on item B, please step up. Anybody out there?
Yeah, I'll say something. I'm Melissa Coughlin. I'm a second grade teacher at Brookside. And I just would like to say that I am encouraging us to open up in this process that we have really worked hard at. Brookside has worked very hard together to try to address all of our concerns and our questions and protocols and all the things that we as educators need to know so that we can not only help ourselves be safe, but keep our students as healthy as possible. So I think, I'm feeling pretty optimistic and ready to return to my class and have some people in there. I just want to really thank the staff at Brookside for working so hard and trying to think of all the things and looking around our classrooms and really assessing, like you said, Alex, what things can be put away and what things can be left out. And so we're all taking it very seriously and want to do the best that we can so that our students can return and we can have a successful launch in this. So that's what I'd like to say.
Thank you, Melissa. Anybody else? Please speak up.
Yes, this is Brian Bowles again.
Go ahead, Brian.
Two things, well, maybe more than two, but 3 minutes worth anyway. One is, it looks like you might want to amend your vote before you take it to not include Bechtel Middle School, as that would be a little bit preemptive, just as a side note. And two, I want to really go along with everybody that has spoken tonight on either side of the fence. Janie, I completely agree that a sailboat is made to sail, not to stay in the harbor. And I think all the teachers across our whole school district would agree with you for the most part. And that is absolutely where we want to be. We want to be back in the classrooms teaching. And so we have to do it safely. And that's where we're working towards right now with the district, with Mark Westerberg, with our union. And I really appreciate all the effort that's gone in from all sides. And I think it's important to remind ourselves that we're here at this meeting as community leaders and respectful humans, and realize that it's okay to be a little bit different and have a slight difference of opinion. But the only way to get through this is to go through it respectfully. And I think that we are doing exactly that. And I hope that we can continue to do that, despite the fact that we may have a difference of opinion, a difference in our own realities at home, but know that everything is moving forward in a positive light with respect to the pandemic. We're seeing a lot of good things. And it really is important to believe in each other right now, more than anything else. And I respect everybody that's a part of this conversation. I respect Mark Westerberg, this board, and all the teachers that have been just constantly teaching. The amount of work that it requires to do distance education is in a lot of ways more than it takes to be in the classroom. And I just really appreciate all the work that everybody's done. And I think that's all I have to say. So I think the vote tonight is an important one. I think everybody is interested in getting back. Sometimes there's a lot of details that need to be ironed out, which is what the union and the district are working on. But again, with the goal of returning to school safely. So thank you, everybody, and continue to have a safe evening.
Thanks, Brian. Who's next? Anybody with specific questions or comments on item B? Okay. Mark, can you address whether or not it makes any sense to make this specific to just the two sites as opposed to including K6, like Brian was talking about?
Well, I think it's clear that we still have some work to do at Bechtel. But I did send you, Alex, a note of something I think might be a the right solution to put into place?
I believe I read that. Let me go back and check it again. So it basically speaks to a phased-in on-site instruction program with Brookside and Blosser. Again, it's only providing that. Basically, it's the information that's going into the MOU. It's also the information that's also in the plan that we've just approved. It requires that the Mendocino County Health Department, CDC, and the MOU with the WTA, all those various guidelines and things are in place before we actually begin this phased-in approach. Again, it's even if we vote to include partial Bechtel Grove tonight, we're still not going to be. We're still basically to try and paraphrase what Mark was trying to say earlier was that Bechtel Grove, even 6th grade, is not going to be included until all the pieces of the puzzle are in place. That includes the MOU with the WTA and the testing process, the whole ball of wax. It all has to be in place before any of this part is going to move forward. So please keep that in mind. With respect to item B, please, anybody with comments or questions, please speak up. I don't want to exclude anyone.
So I
Alex,
think
I
I'm
have a
already-
question. It's Ann Hammond.
Go ahead, Ann.
I know, Mark, you said the date isn't important, but it is to those of us that have to make packets or get our rooms changed up. So I would love it if we could find out what the date will be if it is a positive vote.
I can probably answer that. We really can't put our finger on a date, Ann. And the reason why we can't is because all the pieces of the puzzle are not completely in place. For example, what we thought was going to be a testing program that would be available March 1st has fallen through and is not there yet. And the superintendent, as well as I believe the bulk of the board, we have agreed that testing needs to be in place in order for us to be in order for us to be able to assure everyone's safety should an incident occur. So, and that's just one element. The MOU is not done yet. That MOU is going to take again a little bit more time. So that date, though it says the 8th on the agenda, that date is completely floating. And quite frankly, I think it's probably at least a week premature. So, Mark, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, just that the note I sent to Alex was basically USD will begin a phased in on-site instruction program with Brookside and Blosser, provided all the criteria from the health department, CDC, and the district following the guidelines in the MOU with WTA. This phase will not begin prior to March 8th.
And probably the better way to put this is we would like to be back to in-person instruction as soon as we can reasonably do it when all the pieces are in place. That's really it. Ms. McClellan.
I just had a question. I put it in the chat, but I guess nobody saw it. So is it that all 6th grades are starting the same exact day when we go back? Or is this like a few grades at a time like Ukiah did? Because I believe they started with K1 and then kind of gradually brought them back onto campus.
The tentative plan right now is to put K5 in play at once, and at some point in the not too distant future, look at the next segments, whether they be, and go by site, it'd be possibly some elements of Sherwood and possibly the 6th grade. But there is no way we can go beyond 6th grade at this point in time anyway, because we're still in the purple tier. And the rules that are in play right now do not allow us to open 7 through 12 until we are in red at the very earliest. And
part of that too is the dynamics of the district. Ukiah is 4 times our size. So their stagger, although it appears to be small, is bigger than what we're even talking about. And Ukiah's setup are generally K-5 elementary buildings. We're split by grade level. Ukiah generally runs a K-5 building. So they're staggering their population, just like we had talked about at the high school with staggered start times. So if we were a K-5 building, we probably would be doing that. We probably would look at that type of scenario.
Hey, Mark, this is Dan. Am I being heard?
Yes, go ahead, Dan.
Okay. I'd like to thank really all the public for coming to the meeting tonight because, you know, I'm glad people can see what's going on. It's not just a matter of opening the door and letting people in. It's the rules and all the other things that come along with it, the logistics to make this work. And the classified staff, 92% are on site. The issues that we hear from them are, I call them smaller things. It's like, how do we make the bus work right to get the kids here? Things like that. But they're ready to make this work. It's just weeding out all these little things that we have to do to follow the rules to get the kids to the classroom and get all this done. So we're looking forward to having this go forward if we can make it work through your vote. Thank you.
Alex, can I answer one of the chat questions?
Yeah, be my guest.
Yeah, somebody asked about kids and testing. The plan is to test all the staff who want to get tested before we go back in, because testing is not one of the things I can force somebody to do. But we test staff before they go back in. The kids is still up in the air whether we test them or not. The issue with the staff is you have to have a cadence of testing. And so my preference would be we would be bi-weekly with staff and then on as needed. So if a student or staff member come down sick to the office, we're looking at getting these 15-minute rapid tests. And so if somebody were sick, you do the swab of the mouth and you wait. I liken it to a pregnancy test. Does one line or two lines show up? And if you get a positive, you do another test right away. If you get two positives, they're clearly positive, and then you send them to get it to a doctor or wherever they're going to go. So the testing is really one of those things you can't force somebody to do, just like I can't force teachers and staff and students to be vaccinated. It is a choice thing, but it would be handled if we had a child who was clearly sick in the office, coughing, sneezing, kind of sick. We would want to test them for COVID. If they say, well, I'm not going to test, well, then they're going to have to quarantine. So that's kind of how it plays out.
Can I just ask the board to please not exclude Bechtel Grove from this action item? We have a plan and we have some disagreement. However, I think it can be worked out, and our children have been suffering as much as the other grades have been. So we really need to know that we are progressing in our reopening.
Thank you, Maria. Anybody else?
You could paraphrase that by saying, Alex, all sites that have an approved plan, K6. Because you have to have the approvals.
So just to, and I hear what Maria says, and I absolutely appreciate it because we all want to move forward. The reason K5 is an easier discussion is because they are all within a cohort potential of one cohort. The sixth grade creates a completely different animal, which is why we have not been able to move forward with a discussion on that, because it actually relates a lot more to the 7-12 model, because it is part of a secondary scenario. So that is why it's a troublesome thing to move forward with today, and it has not been something. In fact, for instance, that model has not been seen by the negotiators before today, basically before this document in the board packet. So that's part of the reason why I request that the board make a decision to remove it from it. And I would also say that the negotiating team is absolutely and willing and able to be moving forward with that discussion, as we've talked to Mark about getting everything in place so that when the time comes that the state allows us back, we have a plan to move back that has already touched all the safety scenarios that are in our current MOU that we're working on, and there is no holdup. So that's another thing to consider. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any further comments?
Question, Alex. What happens if Bechtel or sixth grade is excluded from this vote? Does that postpone? I mean, does that delay things even further?
I mean, potentially it could, but please understand that the only reason we are limited just by the rules that are in play right now to being able to address reopening K through 6. In our particular circumstance, 6th grade wouldn't be able to open anyway, only because of logistics issues surrounding the number of teachers that are available, whether teachers have single subject versus multi-subject credentials, the number of kids that would actually want to come back to in-person as opposed to stay distance. And remember, Bechtel Grove is a 6 through 8 school. And if we tried to open it tomorrow, we would only be able to open 6th grade anyway. So again, there's a variety of parameters that would have to be put in place before we could open 6th grade anyway, not least of which happens to be the MOU that's under negotiations right now, like Brian said. I'm not certain why Brian is concerned about excluding Bechtel Grove, because once again, we're not going to be able to open Bechtel Grove fully until we're in the red tier at the earliest. We wouldn't be able to open 6th grade until we've met all the requirements under the MOU that's yet to be finalized anyway.
And
my personal opinion is that we should be looking towards just approving K6 simply because it gives us options. Again, we wouldn't be able to open 7 through 8 until after we reach the red tier at the earliest. And 6th grade is still going to require a fair amount of logistics and considerable change. And it may not come to pass simply because of the amount of effort that would have to go into making it work for just 6th grade alone. So
this is Jeannie, I just want to bring to the board's attention that this current 6th grade, they never, because of the shutdown in the spring, they never got a tour of Bechtel Grove. They never got to visit the site with students there. They never, they've started school with remote learning, becoming part of a school that they have never really physically been a part of. And the 6th grade really does deserve some special consideration in bringing them back when we can, based on figuring out the teaching staff with the credentials and all of that. 7th and 8th graders already belong to Bechtel Grove. 6th grade needs to some special consideration. So
I would add on to that the current 6th grade class has never experienced school with multiple teachers in person, and now they're being expected to handle multiple teachers online. And I have a 6th grade student, and it has created difficulties and challenges. He's been a model citizen and a model student his entire school career, and now he's struggling bad. It's not good. So I would really hope that the board would include the 6th grade class in this vote. If anything else, just to expedite things when they are able to open.
by the way, there is a March 8th board meeting already on the schedule. Or 10th. I'm sorry, March 10th. Yeah.
I just wanted to say that I'd be glad as a board member to have a special board meeting next week to vote just on the 6th grade at Bechtel Grove, if that's what's needed in order to bring them back. So.
We have another negotiations session set between the board and the WTA for next Wednesday to hopefully hash out the remaining few elements that that are going to slow down this process. Having another special board meeting before that would be premature, in my opinion. So I guess what I'm really trying to say here with respect to our opening plan and item B, we are looking to put a mechanism in place that will allow us to open Blosser and Brookside as reasonably early as we can, followed not far after, hopefully, by the 6th grade at Bechtel Grove. Again, the date of March 8th is immaterial and probably is a pie in the sky kind of date. More than likely, we're looking at at least a week later. Unless somebody's got some other information, we'd like to kind of bring this to a close and bring it to a vote. But we also need to work on the language here a little bit. So anybody have any suggestions? Paula?
I don't know that this is going to be a suggestion that is helpful for 6th grade parents, but I know when we brought in some kids to start school in the district that had never been to a particular school site, especially where the sites are open all day, you can take your children onto the site if they're masked and ready to go. And you can show them the wings that do 6th and 7th and 8th grade. You can also show them the office. There's people in the office. There are some solutions that you can think of as a private individual to go and take care of to kind of ease some of that they might feel. And then the other thing that I really found to be a workable solution for some kids is that they get that it was workable for some because they saw other kids at the site and they felt fine about going to the site. But I worry that there will be a lot of misunderstandings when one grade level goes and 2 others don't at a site. I know we had some issues with special ed being able to attend class and other kids not being able to it. It took quite a little discussing and explaining to the people I knew. And I just think that for my way of thinking, it would be better to go K5 or pre-K, TK, my mistake, TK5, and either take no date or make it an extended date in March. And then that way, at least it will be smoother. In less than 2 weeks, we'd be back for another meeting in exactly this. That's all.
Thanks, Paula.
So your comment about taking the kids to the site, yeah, I grew up here. I went to schools here. Not all.
Can I ask a question?
Well, let Tim finish, please.
Not all parents did go to school here. It's been over 20 years since I've been a Bechtel Grove student. I don't know which wings are which anymore. Things have changed. That's not. I don't know.
I get it. Thanks, Tim. Somebody else chimed in. Speak up.
Yeah, I just wanted to know if you could recap what the obstacles are for opening at the soonest date. You had said there were obstacles that you were going to get straightened out, and we'd like to know what those are. Could you expand?
You want me to do that, Alex?
Go ahead.
We have to have our reopening plans not only board approved, they have to be approved by 3 different people. There's a CDE approval, there's a county office approval, and the county health department. Those have to be approved by site, not district-wide. Then we have to have the agreement with the teachers, the MOU, for working conditions to come back on site. So those approvals all have to be in place before, even if the board would vote, we want everybody back in school on March 8th, all grade levels, everybody. That couldn't happen without those things in place. So what we're really talking about is getting started and having this phased in approach, this K6 approach. I think whether you have Bechtel in or out of the action item doesn't matter. You might as well, in my opinion, leave it in, because if we can't meet the other criteria about the 3 plans approved in an MOU, it's irrelevant anyway. But it's a work in progress.
So with respect to the board, unless there's anybody else got some comments to make, I'd like to bring this back to the board and work on how this is going to get phrased.
Great. Can I go ahead and throw something out there?
Please, Robert.
So in regards to the language, maybe we can start here. Consideration to open school sites, Brookside, Blosser Lane, Bechtel Grove, partial, when all Mendocino County and California state requirements are successfully met. And then continue on with the verbiage, additional WSD school sites to reopen pending approval from Mendocino County Public Health. But I think that's a start anyways.
I would amend that to include the MOU in place with WTA.
Sure.
Anything further? Is there a second for that? Would you put that in the form of a motion, Robert?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I move that we consideration to open all school sites, parenthesis, Brookside, Blosser Lane, Bechtel Grove, partial, parenthesis, when all Mendocino County and California state requirements are successfully met, and an MOU of agreement is made with
WTA.
Yeah, is it just WTA or
Yes.
CSEA? Just
WTA.
Okay. And a MOU with WTA is agreed upon. Additional WUSD school sites to reopen pending approval from Mendocino County Public Health. It's a little bit messy, but when you're shooting from the hip.
Would you consider just modifying the tail end of what you said when it says additional Willits Unified School District school sites to reopen pending the same, as opposed to throwing in the county? Because they're still going to need an MOU. They're still going to need OSHA and everybody else. Is that too bad?
No, I mean, I think that was additional. I think at the end, and I didn't write this, maybe Mark,
I know.
he was just saying that we also have to have approval from Mendocino County Public Health. Is verbiage, Mark?
Right.
Agreed. And I also agree with you, Paul. I agree with you, Paula, that last little bit needs to be included.
Okay.
Yeah.
Make it flow.
There. We're into flowing.
Okay.
Don't read it
So
back.
move, if that's clear as mud.
I second it.
So we got a motion on the table and a second. So I'm going to try and paraphrase this as best I can. So the motion is to consideration to open school sites, Brookside, Blosser Lane, Bechtel Grove partial, when all the conditions are met with CDC, the Mendocino County Health Department, the State Health Department, California Department of Education, and MOUs are in place with WTA, essentially for all sites.
That'll
And you
work.
could throw in the high school.
Well, that's what I said, essentially for all sites.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Clearly, we will be restricted with respect to, even if we pass this, we will still be restricted by all the rules that are in place right now. And once next week, the rules may change and we may have to address those. But at least at this stage of the game, we can look like we can at least be trying to move forward.
Will we still be looking at the 2-week notice for teachers to be made aware that this is the date for school to start?
We've already given that.
Yeah.
We've already given that, and the intent behind the 2-week notice is essentially to give the teachers an opportunity to try and to start working towards being prepared. Understanding that in reality, I would argue that that 2-week notice went out Monday, right? So that would actually put us in place for opening school on March 9th.
The 50th. Oh.
I still think that March 8th, March 9th is high in the sky. It's possible. Is it likely? Highly unlikely. I don't believe we'll be in red long enough for us to be able to open school anywhere before the 15th. However, I would argue that everyone in the district should be looking forward to opening at least K-5 at our earliest possible opportunity, so we can get our kids and our teachers back in the classroom wherever possible. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Okay. Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, passes 100%. We are at public comments for items not on the agenda.
Can I do a quick one while we have 83 people here, which is so uncommon?
Please.
So, couple things with bond issue. We have quotes already for Blosser's roof. They were accepted and approved. They're going to get started on it right away. Tomorrow, the district office, if you've ever been to our district office and tried to maneuver those stairs that are so horrible, they're all pulled off. Aluminum ones are going in tomorrow. Once we figure out the process for that on the office here, we can then start to fix the other classrooms that have these rusted out, busted up stairs. The high school will have a new main hallway covering, new carpet in the high school office, new carpet in the band room by the end of the week or early next week. And by the end of the month, the window project where they did the back half of the high school, the front half will be completed. Because we went into the main building and fixed all the heating and cooling, the main high school building will for the first time have controlled heating and cooling in rooms. That now we had to put the windows on so we don't take all that heat and cool we just figured out and let it go out the windows. So we're going to get that fixed. We also have the high school parking lot is about 3 weeks away from a bid to get that fixed and replaced. I've already taken the pool cover has been ordered and is being made. We're doing a lot of other small projects around the district. One of the projects that I've got my first plan back in on is the west wing of Brookside. And if Melissa's still on, I forgive you, Melissa, for saving
I'm still
it.
here. I'm still here.
I forgive you for saving it. But if that project has our first drawing, and that project would put 4 classrooms back in place where those 6 are, create a storage building over by preschool, and add 27 parking spots to Brookside. Because if you've had the misfortune of being there at 8 o'clock in the morning, it's a train wreck. So we hopefully will have a staff parking lot out of that. The last project that I have, there's a lot of them going on. Bechtel will have real science rooms. We have now figured out the water, so all the power and sinks will be working in the science room. We're working on the high school science rooms to get the same thing done, as well as the roofs at Bechtel, Brookside, and Blosser. we have to recoat those roofs so we stop taking in water. I just want to tell you, the maintenance folks and Maddie and my office are killing it getting this stuff out and done. We've got 15 projects going at one time right now. But that's the kind of effort we need to do to make a quick difference. And to be honest with you, not being in session allows a lot of this stuff to happen. The high school will practically be all fixed up and renovated before kids are back on site. So I just want to let you know your tax dollars are at work and you're going to see some major results by June. A lot of these projects will all be done.
Very good. Catherine, before you start, I wanted to, the Zoom, when you guys put something in on chat on Zoom, it flashes up on my screen and it's only there for a split second and I miss a great deal of it. So if we're missing answering some of your questions, please, you need to speak up. And if you didn't get the floor when you wanted it, please try and break in, and we're happy to answer your questions. Failing that, if you're welcome to contact any of us or give Mark Westerberg a call or an email with your question or comment following the meeting. So thank you. Go ahead, Catherine.
Thank you very much. With respect to Tony sorry, we're getting some reverb. With respect to Tony Thurman's statement yesterday about state testing, has any discussion about CASP for this academic year begun?
Good question. I read about the same thing.
All I
see
can
Mark
tell you,
laughing.
all I can tell you, if they use any common sense, they will not test this year because every school in the state will be targeted for improvement based on dropping tests. My advice,
we need to make it through this before we talk about testing.
yeah, my advice that I sent, my 2 cents to Tony Thurman and the superintendent's group was, I think we ought to give the test to kids, just not report it out. The state can keep the info, but just not report it out. That way we'll have a benchmark of where students are at. I don't have a problem with that. I have no problem testing our kids so our teachers can find out, or even a parent can find out where they're at in regards to a state assessment. But to hold us all accountable and target us up to see what grade they want to give each other compared to one another is going to be crazy and irrelevant. And the have schools like St. Helena will, guess what? They'll be doing better than we are, just like they were before. But the data won't be good. So,
okay.
Thank you.
Paula wants to, Paula?
I just want to say that it's Amy from the hospital. I've forgotten her last name again. But she helped organize at Howard Hospital the sports checkups. I believe they're going to happen this Sunday. Anyway, I just thought y'all want to know that too, because our program is apparently going to start back up, right? The youth sports.
Yes.
Oh, okay, I thought so. Well, I just figured people might not know, and that's something else that's going on. Thank
Paula,
you,
can
Brian.
I speak to that really quick, Paula? Amy Buckingham
please.
is
Thank
the
you.
name you're looking
Okay.
for, and
Yes.
and all of the Howard Hospital staff that is going to be helping should be praised as well. As the athletic director, I'm really excited to have been able to work with her and move that forward. So thank you, Amy Buckingham. When you guys see her at the clinic in the hospital, tell her what a great job she does. But ultimately, this Sunday from 11 to 1, our athletes are going to be able to go in and get free physicals. We've scheduled them by sport so that we can keep them spread out and safe. And they're all moving forward towards enjoying some fresh air and some competition. So thank you for reminding us all of that important topic.
So
Thanks.
Brian, how do parents find out when their child can go?
So all the students that have turned in the survey to be on a sports team have already been notified. They all have a Canvas account with their sport attached to it, and they've gotten the email and a physical form already. There are extra copies as well in the office, and there will be extra copies of the physical form at the hospital, the clinic actually is where it's going to be done. And so there's definitely room for more people if we get it. It's specifically for Willits High School athletes, though, so we can continue to keep our spacing and get it done with that goal.
Not Bechtel Grove athletes?
Bechtel Grove are not part of the current process, but I am sure that Amy will also be working forward that in some regard.
One other thing, the high school is going to be used tomorrow. I'm not sure who's scheduled for vaccinations tomorrow, but there's some group coming in, and Howard does it.
Yeah, they say that they're doing it for the first time for the over 65s that hadn't had an opportunity sooner. That was the other thing Amy and all of her volunteers have set up really nicely. But thank you, Brian, because I couldn't remember.
Yeah. We have left the high school gym set up as a vaccination center, and we're going to leave it that way because they roll them through. Their goal is to do 400 to 500 in a day there. So.
And they're also going to do it the next weekend and the next weekend after that.
Yep.
The 7th and the 11th and 12th, there's something there. You guys have done really well making it available, and they've jumped on it to set it all up really well.
So Mark,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, Mark, before we go, and I know that maybe you haven't seen some things in the chat, but I just really want to advocate for the parents of Sherwood, and they just want to have a conversation with you. So maybe you can set up a time to meet with them to kind of go over some of their concerns.
Yeah, I've seen the chats. I just can't be the meeting mediator.
Yeah, but a separate meeting for them, I think, would be really appropriate.
Yeah. The plan is to meet with the Sherwood teachers tomorrow and figure out what we reasonably can do and what's going to work at Sherwood, and then bring the parents in.
Okay, I think that'll put them at ease to know that you're going to have that conversation.
Yeah, like I said, Sherwood's a completely different scenario than the other buildings, and so we got to work out some mechanics there, but that's the plan for tomorrow morning.
I just saw a statistic that California has vaccinated 19.6% of its population, but Mendocino County has vaccinated 26.2% of its population. Way to go, Mendocino County.
Yeah.
Very good. Anything else for the good of the order? I want to say thank you to everybody that's participated. I know this is a hot topic. It's a difficult topic. We are all struggling to get through it just in one fashion or another. Obviously, these issues affect some of us much more than others. And I don't know how to address that other than to say, for those of you that are doing a lot to get our kids the educations that they need, thank you very, very much. And for those of you who are participating in this process, thank you very much, because your opinion, your voice is important. And hopefully we've made the correct decision tonight. And quite frankly, between now and when we actually have kids on campus, we have ample opportunity to amend our decision, change it, or even fall back should that be required. I just want to point out to everyone that until we're actually on site, we still have options available to us.
They're almost done.
What's that? Yeah, I just want to make sure that our goal is to move forward in any way we possibly can. That's and do the best thing that we can for our kids and our community.
All right. Thank you, folks. I appreciate everything.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
I'll second.
Yeah.
And seconded. Any other discussion? Without any further discussion, call for the vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.